G'day everyone. On the agenda for today, I will be replacing the radiator, testing and troubleshooting my cooling fans, flushing and bleeding the cooling system. I bought my car with a missing radiator fan, so I reached out to someone parting out one and they gave me the radiator with the fans. I've already installed it to make sure it would fit because it was actually different to the one already in the car. Now I'm going to remove it to install a brand new one. Fairly straightforward to remove the radiator, just unplug the upper radiator hose, then the coolant overflow bottle hose, and a couple of bolts holding the top of the radiator. Hopefully the lower radiator hose clamp isn't in an easy to reach spot. It is for me, since I just changed it. I'm going to remove the lower radiator hose from the top of the car to get better leverage on the hose. Time to remove the wiring clips for each fan. The one next to the coolant overflow is pretty far down, so I'll disconnect it while removing the radiator. See, super easy to remove a radiator unless it is on a Honda Integra RSX DC5, in which case the whole front bumper has to come off. And fun note, when radiators decide to start leaking, the plastic tops usually discolor like this one here. Here's the old radiator that came with the car on the left, and the newer one I just took out on the right. I have no idea what car the left one came out of, but the lower radiator hose was sandwiched against the subframe and probably would have leaked very soon if I left it like that. If you know what the radiator on the left belongs to, let me know in the comments. I got a nice new shiny radiator off eBay, luckily they're still easy to find. I'm going to transfer the fans from my old one. The fan shrouds are made of plastic, so I'm not going to tighten them down too much. Yes, any YJ Garage viewers that watch my MX-5 series, I did crack one of my fan shrouds that way. The radiator came with some metal pipes. I believe they are for the automatic cars, but I have a manual, so just going to cut the cable ties and remove them. The radiator didn't come with the rubber feet, so I'm going to take the ones off the old one. And you'd assume exact same radiator that came out, so it'll go right back in, right? Well, no. Not too sure what the issue was, but it took a bit of persuasion on each side to eventually get the rubber feet to go back into their grooves. Moving on to the cooling fans, this little green plug just under the intake tube connects to the thermo fan switch. And with most Hondas this age, if you want to check if your fans are working, you can simply jump the wires with a paper clip, then turn the key 2 clicks and both fans should be running. Now an interesting thing I found out is that the JDM H22, or at least mine, does not have a radiator fan control module. This is a black box normally found next to the car's ECU. Australian and American H22 Preludes came with the radiator fan control module, and it would tell the fans to keep running under certain conditions after the car had been switched off. This was also a feature in the 3rd generation Honda Preludes, and it is a way to ensure the car doesn't overheat after shutting down on hot days, much like a turbo timer. Why doesn't the JDM H22 have this feature? I have no idea. as summer in Japan is pretty hot, but here you can see there is no second thermostat in the front coolant housing, which is what the radiator fan control module uses to signal the fans after the car is switched off. So back to the cooling fans. I ran the car up to temp, but I didn't see them turn on. And there could be a couple of reasons for that, but I think the main one is the thermofan switch isn't working properly. This is supposed to close circuit when it hits about 90 degrees and turn on the fans, and looking at the condition of it, I'm not even going to bother testing it, which can be done by putting it in boiling water and testing the pins for continuity. The easiest replacement part I could find was a Trident TFS 127, and it is a thermofan switch, not to be confused with a coolant temp switch, the smaller sensor that sends information back to the dash or ECU. Yes, I did make that mistake. The switch looks the same as the original, just with a purple plug. The other reason I think my cooling fans did not turn on is the wrong gasket was inside the thermostat housing. You can see here the thermostat gasket is round, right? Well, the inside of the housing isn't round, and coolant would have just been bypassing the thermostat, not allowing the car to fully warm up. The Trident part number I used to replace it with was a TTG35. Don't be surprised if the gasket looks like it has the right shape but is smaller than the thermostat. It just has to stretch to fit, but make sure you get the dimples lined up right so the thermostat wiggle pin is at the top. This allows any trapped air to circulate. And I also didn't have a paper gasket for the thermostat housing base, so I ordered a TTG36 as well. I reused the old thermostat. I put it in boiling water to test that it would open. Otherwise, I had no reason to believe it was bad. Now to bleed the coolant. Just by the thermostat housing, there is a bleeder valve that you can open to let the air burp out while the car is off. If no bubbles are coming out, take it all the way off and stick a pin through it to clear any debris. Mine had rust in it. And finally, we have the fans running as they should. While I was here, I noticed something that might help me with troubleshooting my brakes. When I step on the brake pedal, the revs change slightly. This could be a clue to what is wrong with the braking system. Now to flush the cooling system. I've just loosened the plastic drain plug on the radiator. I've just been filling it up with water for now, so let's see what we will find pouring out. Yikes, that's not good. Even my brand new radiator cap is covered in gunk. This is after 3 more flushes. Still plenty of rust chunks coming out. Clearly, I have not learnt my lesson yet. The coolant overflow bottle looks exactly like the one on my MX-5, which had a blown head gasket. Time to break out the radiator flush. This will hopefully prevent any further rust in the system. Just need to pour the bottle into the cooling system and run the car for 7 minutes. I should add, to effectively get coolant throughout the cooling system, having the heater set to max heat and fan full blast will get the coolant flowing through the whole system, including the heater core. It acts as a little radiator and is what the blower uses to get warm air into the cabin. It also gives me a cool chance to show off the digital climate control. A lot more rust particles came out and eventually came clean after about 14 rounds. While I add coolant, probably a good time to mention this is why water shouldn't be used inside a cooling system long term. Coolant is important as it contains rust inhibitors, and if you really need to use water, you really should use distilled water over regular tap water as that contains other contaminants. The green funnel wouldn't allow the coolant down, so I had to switch it out for the red one, and because red goes faster. Now to bleed the coolant one last time and clean up any messes. So now Project Prelude has a working cooling system. Hopefully I will be able to avoid having any head gasket issues. I am now one step closer to getting this car back on the road. Let me know in the comments if this video helped. Subscribe if you are new. I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.